This girl has to wear sunglasses every time she goes out. Even when she takes a shower, Haram doesn't take them off because she thinks that these eyes bring her bad luck. Today, Haram is preparing to travel abroad. When the plane is closing the door and preparing to take off, Haram is so sleepy that she falls asleep and accidentally drops her glasses on the floor. A little girl sees this and picks them up. Haram feels something is wrong and opens her eyes, but her glasses are gone. At this time, the little girl sitting next to Haram is wearing her glasses and looks interested. Haram is nervous and wants the little girl to return her glasses, but the little girl shakes head and refuses to return them. Finally, something scary happens. Haram's face suddenly changes color, but not because she is angry that the little girl didn't return her glasses, but because she saw a demon sitting next to the little girl. Haram stands up in panic and is horrified to discover that every passenger has a demon sitting next to them. Seeing this scene, Haram immediately knew what was going to happen next. So Haram frantically banged on the door and demanded to get off the plane. Everyone thought Haram was crazy. They warned that if Haram continued like this, they would take her to the police station. But Haram would rather be taken to the police station than stay here. The plane was forced to stop because of Haram's rioting. But when she was taken away, Hara kept insisting that everyone get off the plane quickly. Seeing Haram being taken off the plane, the little girl gave Haram's glasses back to someone else, and that person returned the glasses to Haram. No one knew that Haram was different from normal people. Since she was little, her eyes could see ghosts around her. When Haram was 3 years old, her father put a pair of sunglasses on her. He said that these sunglasses would help her not see ghosts anymore. From then on, Haram's closet was filled with the sunglasses that she had worn since she was little. But that little girl accidentally took Haram's glasses, causing her to see ghosts and demons all over the plane. Even though Haram made such a fuss, the plane still took off as scheduled. Haram knew for sure that the passengers on that plane, even the crew, could only leave and not return. And not long after that, the news really reported the plane crash. Haram was arrested as a suspect, but Haram said that she did nothing. But the police wanted to know why she was crying and demanding to get off the plane. Haram said that she saw ghosts, the souls of the dead. This was the first time Haram had seen so many ghosts. Hearing Haram say that, police officer Mugang outside suddenly remembered the last time they accidentally met at a milk tea shop. He was curious why Haram was wearing sunglasses to work. The manager thought that it would affect the store's image, so he took Haram's sunglasses off. Unexpectedly, there was still another pair of glasses behind, but the manager still took it down. So Haram had to cover her eyes and ask what the customer wanted to buy, but Mugang deliberately wanted to see her eyes. Haram angrily told him to stop looking or she would stab him in the eye with a fork. Haram glanced over and suddenly saw a dark shadow behind a man. Although she was scared, she couldn't help but turn her head to look because the man was her ex-boyfriend. His milk tea was ready, but Haram pulled his hand back. She told him to wait 3 more minutes and then leave. The man was annoyed by Haram's unreasonable actions, but Haram still begged him to wait 1 more minute and then leave. The man looked at his new girlfriend who was still sitting in the car. He scolded Haram for trying to seduce him again, but Haram didn't explain. He also didn't have the patience to stay any longer. But after he stepped out the door, he was hit by a car going at high speed and flew far away. Everyone rushed out to see the terrible scene, but Mugang found that Haram was not surprised at all, as if she had known this outcome. At that time, he only felt that this girl was a bit strange, but he didn't know what was strange. Now he knew why she was acting so strangely. At this time, a group of people were fighting in the police station. A woman accidentally bumped into Haram, but because Haram wasn't wearing glasses, she saw ghosts. Police officer Mugang outside observed all her actions. Haram muttered, "Evil ghosts. The woman would die soon." The boy next to him also saw Haram muttering. Haram had just left the police station when he turned around and cursed the police as useless. Suddenly, a car horn sounded from behind. It turned out to be police officer Mugang. He offered to take Haram home. Unexpectedly, Haram also readily agreed to get in the car. Mugang thought to himself that he was just joking, but Haram had already prepared everything and was just waiting for him to take her home. So Mugang silently started the car. He didn't know that this short trip would change his life. When they passed a bridge, Haram suddenly lowered her sunglasses. Sure enough, there was a shadow behind her. This young man named Sudong was planning to jump off the bridge, wanting to leave this world. She put her sunglasses back on and told herself that it had nothing to do with her. Everyone advised this guy not to leave this world, but Mugang told not to worry. Mugang said that Sudong wouldn't jump because he came here several times a month. He was probably just advertising himself. Unexpectedly, Haram said that this time he was really dead. Hearing that, Mugang felt a little bewildered. He turned to look at Sudong and told himself that it was okay. Yesterday, Haram's mother came to the police station and angrily scolded Haram for going somewhere. Haram's mother asked if she was sick again this time, so Mugang thought that maybe this time she was sick and was talking nonsense. But when Mugang brought Haram home, she turned her head and stared at him, making Mugang confused. But in fact, she was just looking at the phone number on the car. Haram didn't say anything and just turned around and walked upstairs. But as Mugang was walking home, he received a text message from a stranger. Mugang opened it and saw that the text message was cursing him as a stupid policeman. Only the girl just now would dare to scold him like that. Mugang thought she was angry, so he didn't care. But Mugang suddenly suddenly saw Sudong suddenly raise his hand and fall backwards. Before anyone could react, he had already fallen into the river. Mugang was about to go crazy. Mugang didn't think Sudong would do such a crazy thing, because if Sudong fell down there, he would definitely die. Mugang felt very guilty when he saw that. Not long after, Sudong's body was picked up, but unfortunately this time he really died. The mother cried bitterly because her son had died before he even got married. Mugang suddenly remembered Haram. She was really strange. She even had to wear sunglasses when she took a bath. Her expression was also very amused. Even though others looked at her with strange eyes, she had long gotten used to it. But that night, Mugang came to find her drunk. He said that Sudong was dead. Haram replied that she had warned him. Mugang regretted it very much. If he had listened to Haram at that time, he might have saved Sudong. Haram said that he could go home, but he blocked Haram's door. Mugang said that she was an angel sent by God and took off her glasses. Mugang offered to cooperate with Haram to save people who were about to die. Unexpectedly, Haram agreed to that request. The next day, she took off her glasses as if she had made up her mind. She cut her bangs, which had covered her eyes for so many years, but she didn't know that she had trusted the wrong person. This was the first time Haram had gone out without wearing glasses. She looked around to check, but did not see any dark shadow, so she felt secure to continue. But after walking a few more steps, Haram saw a dark shadow behind the mother and daughter. Haram wanted to know the cause of death of that dark shadow, so she touched it and learned that the mother died of illness. Haram calmed her emotions because she understood that life and death were common things for people, and she could not do anything about it. But when Haram stepped outside, she saw a man, and that man would change everyone's fate. Haram took out a stack of money and started counting. The man sitting opposite her did not know what she was planning to do. Then Haram said that the money would belong to the man if he stayed with her all morning. The man thought she was crazy, so he loudly chased her away. Then he threw money in her face and said that he was not so easily fooled. Haram secretly thought that her kindness was not appreciated, so she did not want to care about this man anymore. Just now, when Haram passed by that man, she saw a dark shadow behind him. That meant that he would die soon. To find out why he died, she touched the dark shadow and knew that the man would die in an accident and that his death would be very miserable. Then she remembered that last night, Mugang said he wanted to cooperate with her to save the dying people, but she didn't know that he was also having a headache right now. Mugang threw a photo to his girlfriend. After seeing it, his girlfriend, Sun Young, looked very nervous. Mugang asked if she had planned to approach him from the beginning, but Sun Young didn't say anything. Mugang said that even if she didn't say anything, he would still investigate, but he didn't know that he was about to die. The next day, when Mugang went to work, he received a call from Haram. She said that she agreed with the idea of saving the dying people. Now she saw a dying person telling him to come here quickly. Before Haram could give the address, Mugang interrupted. He said that he was busy and couldn't go, and that saving people was just talk when he drunken. Haram was extremely angry after hearing that. Now she could only rely on herself. She didn't expect the man to be so unreasonable. Haram was about to leave when she remembered the man's death, so she started to deliberately provoke him. Sure enough, the man was so angry that he wanted to hit Haram, and she came to let him hit her. The man was confused and ran away because he thought he had met a madman, but Haram tried to hold him back, but he pushed her away. Then she risked her life and hit her head on the table leg. The man didn't know what to do. After seeing the blood on her forehead, he couldn't sit still anymore and quickly grabbed his things and ran away. Mugang ran over and tripped over them, and they both fell. Before he could even get up, Haram stepped on him again. She hurriedly told Mugang to catch the man, so the man was wrongly arrested. Mugang said, "Can you leave now?" But Haram said, "It's not over yet." Through the dark shadow, she knew that the man was being controlled by a bad guy. The murderer asked to call this man family or he would kill the man. Haram could see the person the murderer was looking for, but before he could find them, the gunman shot the man. Haram remembered that the gunman was wearing a watch and was wearing a military uniform. That meant that even if the man escaped, someone else would have to take his place. Although Mugang was also very busy, this matter was even more important. They followed Haram's memory to the scene and accidentally saw the person the murderer was looking for. They went to see the girl together. The girl said that the gunman was her boyfriend, and Mugang also confirmed that a soldier had deserted this morning. To change things in the future, they told the girl to take the initiative to meet her boyfriend, but Mugang didn't know that his fate had changed from here. In the restaurant, a man wearing a strange outfit walked into the restaurant and sat down in front of the girl. Mugang knew that the target had appeared, so he took a sip of tea and signaled to start the action. When the man is holding on to his girlfriend not to break up, Mugang walked over and pretended to ask them the time. The man was raising his hand to look at his watch when Mugang pulled his hand over. Actually, Mugang's purpose was to let Haram identify the target. Mugang was a bit nervous because he had been on the mission for less than a month, so he had to practice a few times before quickly handcuffing the man. The man was startled because no one knew he was hiding from the military camp. Only then did he know that his girlfriend had reported him to the police, and of course he was arrested for desertion. This was the first time Haram knew that using her strength to save others could be so happy. The man who was supposed to die miserably was now locked up in the police station. He suddenly heard the phone ringing, so he quickly asked the police to answer it. This incident changed Mugang. Gang's fate. Not long after, Haram went to the police station to look for Mu Gang, but couldn't find him. She was about to wait for Mu Gang when she suddenly saw a picture in which the necklace Mu Gang was wearing was the one she had given to her neighbor when she was a child. When she first saw him, she thought he looked familiar. She didn't expect that her neighbor when she was a child had now become a criminal police officer. She secretly blamed herself for only now recognizing him. After that, the deserter was released. Haram felt a little strange. In her memory, the sniper wore a watch on his right hand, but the man wore it on his left hand. She quickly went to ask the police where his gun was. Unexpectedly, he didn't have a gun. Hearing that, Haram muttered, "Did I make a mistake?" At this moment, everyone started to make noise because the TV was reporting about a deserter holding a hostage. This was the scene that Haram had predicted, but the hostage had changed to Mu Gang. The man behind said that Mu Gang had gone to pick up his mother for him. It turned out that the man had just received a call from the nursing home asking him to pick up his confused mother, and the nursing home was on the second floor of the shopping mall. Remembering that Haram had said that this man would die because he was taken hostage, Mu Gang had to go instead. It meant that the man's fate had changed to Mu Gang. Haram shook her head because she already knew the outcome. Indeed, the shooter had killed 2 people with 1 shot. Haram sat down on the ground in pain. She blamed herself. If it wasn't for her, Mu Gang wouldn't have died. Then she rushed home and muttered that she was guilty. Haram desperately untied her shoelaces, wanting to leave this world. Mu Gang was still in the hospital. His girlfriend Sun Young, who was a doctor, received the call and rushed over. When she saw her boyfriend lying there, she was scared and didn't know what to do, but then she calmed down. She quickly gave Mu Gang first aid, but he had already stopped breathing. Looking at the electrocardiogram, Sun Young collapsed to the ground. Knowing that Mu Gang couldn't live this time, Haram also decided to leave this world. She kicked the chair away, her whole body swinging in the air. When Haram was strangling herself, she suddenly heard that Mu Gang wasn't dead yet, but she was trying to follow Mu Gang. Now Haram wanted to leave this world herself, in her rented room. She didn't want to die anymore, but she didn't know what to do. But the problem was, hadn't Mu Gang died on the spot? The doctor had also confirmed Mu Gang's time of death. His body had also been taken to the morgue, but the appearance of a masked doctor changed the situation. The doctor went to find Mu Gang's body and took out a knife, intending to remove the bullet from his head. But while the doctor was starting, Mu Gang suddenly woke up and sat up, scaring the doctor and quickly running away. Mu Gang's mother on the other side was still crying, unable to accept that Mu Gang was dead. His mother screamed for him. The doctor rushed out to announce that Mu Gang was still alive. The doctor said that he had just met Mu Gang in the hallway. Mu Gang's mother rushed over but couldn't find Mu Gang, so they had to check the camera again. They saw that Mu Gang was still safe and sound. The doctors were all stunned. Haram on the other side was still hanging in the air. Her phone was still ringing, but she couldn't answer it. The person calling Haram was the young man standing in front of her house, but no matter how he called, there was no response from inside. He thought there was no one in the house, so he was about to leave when the dog started barking inside the house. Realizing that something was wrong, the young man rushed into the house. Luckily, he saved Haram in time, who was about to suffocate. She was licked by the dog until she woke up. Only then did Haram realize that there was someone else in her house, so she quickly grabbed the guy's shirt and asked him if he had sneaked into her house to steal something. The guy quickly explained that he had just saved her. Only then did Haram regain consciousness. Then the guy introduced himself as Man-Su. Man-Su said that he had met Haram when she was arrested at the police station. Haram said that she could see ghosts, so he took her phone number and address and came here to find her. He wanted her to check if there was a dark shadow on him and this dog. But Haram only asked if Man-Su had a car. Now she just wanted to know about Mu Gang's situation. Then she happened to see Mu Gang on the side of the road, so she quickly told Man-Su to stop the car. She was about to get out of the car when Man-Su stopped her. He asked her if she saw a dark shadow on them. Haram heard that and said that it was okay for now. She only cared about Mu Gang now, not knowing that Mu Gang was no longer the same Mu Gang as before, not even her old neighbor. As soon as Mu Gang woke up, he pulled Sun Young's hand to his chest and asked why it kept beating like this. Sun Young thought Mu Gang still loved her, but he thought it was because of his body and waved his hand to chase Sun Young away. Sun Young didn't understand why after waking up, Mu Gang acted like a completely different person. That was the truth. Last night, Haram found Mu Gang and apologized to him for being nosy and putting him in danger, but Mu Gang coldly chased her away. Looking at the bracelet he threw away, Haram was determined. Seeing that the doctor wasn't there, she quietly went to Mu Gang's hospital bed and took out her phone to observe his face. Now she can be sure that he is the one she is looking for. Haram still remembers that year when she was crying, and he promised to protect her for the rest of his life. He also said that he only loved her. They even linked their hands and stamped it. Haram gave Mu Gang a bracelet. She hoped that even if he went abroad, he would not forget her. But this time they were gone for 10 years. Luckily, their fate had not ended. They finally met again. Haram put the bracelet on Mu Gang again, but he suddenly pressed her down and asked who she was. Haram kept saying her name. Suddenly Mu Gang's head was in great pain. But Haram was still trying to explain that they had promised each other when they were young. Unexpectedly, Mu Gang chased her away. Haram was angry and did not want to stay here anymore. But when she got home, she was shocked to find her house turned turned upside down. She shouted and asked her stepfather what he was looking for. Finally he found it. Haram rushed to get it back but was pushed away. Haram's stepfather said he was only borrowing it. Haram had to resort to the last resort. She asked him if he knew what the eyes she had, but he didn't care. Haram said that if he took the money and walked less than 10 steps away from here, he would die. After saying that, she started performing. Just by looking at it, he knew that she might have seen something, but he still stubbornly told her to stop pretending because he didn't believe it. Now, all he had in his eyes was money. Haram was desperate, wondering how her mother could find someone like him. She would rather not have a stepfather like him. The next day, she put on her glasses and brushed her teeth, but the more she brushed her teeth, the angrier she got. She didn't understand why she had to endure it. She was bullied by her stepfather, and Mugang didn't care about her. And Mugang was still in the hospital looking for something. Then he found a crystal ball in his pocket, and this thing was more valuable to him than his life. Then he put on his clothes and put on his shoes. Seeing that there was no one around, he went into the refrigerator to do something, but at that moment, Haram suddenly appeared. Mugang saw that someone was coming, so he closed the refrigerator. He was about to go out and find another opportunity, but Haram kept following him. Then, Mugang looked at the approaching bus and quickly got on the bus, ignoring Haram. It took him a long time to get on the bus. Mugang quickly ordered the driver to drive away, but the driver told him to pay the fare first. While they were talking, Haram had already gotten on the bus. She even paid Mugang's fare. Mugang saw this and was about to run away, but the bus door had already closed. Haram didn't think that even after getting on the bus, he still wouldn't stand still. At this time, an old lady had just gotten on the bus and squeezed her way to Mugang. He understood what the old lady meant, but told her that standing wouldn't kill her. The old lady glanced at him and said that young people these days were really uneducated, but Mugang criticized people nowadays for being so unruly. The old lady was so angry that she threw the whole bag at Mugang, but he threw it away and accidentally hit Haram. Seeing Haram fall, Mugang took the opportunity to escape and get out of the car. He was worried like that because he had something important to do. To quickly, Mugang used his teleportation ability because he was sure that the person he was looking for would come here. So he sat waiting in front of the school gate, but the women passing by didn't dare look him in the eye, and the men passing by looked at him with contempt. At first, Mugang thought it was because he wasn't dressed well, but at that moment, a car with a model advertisement passed by. Mugang suddenly thought he had to dress up to look nice. The staff began to praise Mugang's physique when wearing clothes, which made him excited, so he asked the price of the product. The staff clicked the computer and took out 2,370,000 won. Mugang comfortably took out money and told the staff not to give him change, but the cashier's face changed after receiving the money because Mugang didn't know that Joss paper couldn't be used in the human world. He even turned around and asked the staff that everyone wanted to ask if he was sane. In a critical situation, Mugang pulled the curtain again. The staff thought that Mugang had just escaped from the camp, but they waited for a long time, but he didn't come out, so the staff had to go inside to see. Unexpectedly, Mugang had disappeared. Right after that, Mugang walked out of the women's restroom, but was still calmly and comfortably studying his clothes. The two girls screamed, startling him. It turned out that when Mugang was shot dead, his body had been possessed by a god of death named Black. Black was a messenger of hell with pure blood. His job was to find people who were about to die through the crystal ball and then bring their souls to hell. Black can travel through space through doors, and of course, humans cannot see them. But one day a colleague suddenly came to find Black because he picked up Sudong's mission ball. He had left this world before, and that ball number 444 was indeed Sudong's. It meant that Sudong had escaped, and the only way to escape to the human world was to enter the body of a dead person. And in a group of two, if one person makes a mistake, the other will also be implicated. If they are discovered by the supervisor, they will be turned into dogs at the gates of hell. Hearing this, Black did not dare to delay. He had to find Sudong quickly. Coincidentally, Black met Mugang, who was shot dead. When someone died, of course the god of death had to work. Black took out the ball and saw Mugang's image in it. This meant that it was time for Mugang to go to hell. Black knew that Mugang was a police officer, so he suddenly thought of a bold idea. If Black wanted to bring Sudong back, he had to use a human body. As soon as Mugang stopped breathing, Black took the opportunity to enter his body. After becoming human, Black immediately went to meet his two colleagues. But because he spoke quite frankly, Black made his two colleagues unhappy. They reached out to grab Black, but couldn't touch him. Just then, Haram was having a stomachache and had to call a car to the hospital. She suddenly saw two dark shadows next to Mugang. She was worried that Mugang was in danger, so she quickly told the driver to stop the car. Suddenly, a bicycle suddenly rushed over, pushing Black and Mugang's body off the railing, causing Black's crystal ball to roll out, so he quickly ran to pick it up. Haram saw Mugang running into the middle of the road and reminded him to be careful. Inside the ball, Haram's image appeared again. Black suddenly realized that he had met her a long time ago. At that time, he was on a mission. The main target was the man in the car because it was time for him to die. But he didn't know anything, so he still innocently went to buy coffee for his girlfriend. But ironically, the coffee seller was Haram. Haram covered her face not because she was afraid of her ex-boyfriend, but because she saw a dark shadow behind him. At that time, Black noticed Haram and felt that something was wrong with her eyes. Sure enough, Haram told her ex-boyfriend to wait a moment. For the mission to go smoothly, Black was planning to take Haram's ex-boyfriend away. Unexpectedly, Haram touched Black and told her ex-boyfriend to wait 3 more minutes before leaving. At that time, Black felt very confused, but luckily Haram's ex-boyfriend didn't listen to Haram. As soon as he went out the door, he was hit by a car and died. As for Haram, she had already predicted that something bad would happen. Thinking that the mission was over, Black didn't pay attention, but now Haram's image appeared in the sphere. That meant that Black's next mission was to take Haram's soul to hell. But now Black thought that maybe Haram could help him, so Black closed the sphere. Immediately after that, a car rushed straight towards him. Seeing that, Haram rushed to save him, but she fainted. Seeing that the mission was to take Haram's soul, Black made a decision. He would take Haram home, because he still hadn't found Sudong, so he couldn't take Haram's soul to hell. Looking at the rope hanging in her room, Black knew that her life wasn't easy, so Black decided to quickly find Sudong to help Haram die peacefully. One day, Black went to the school to find Sudong because Black believed that Sudong would come here to find his sister. At this time, Black suddenly saw a student acting strangely, and this student had been dead for a while. Why was he alive now? So Black quickly pulled a student over to ask. The girl said that the boy Jung-woo had left this world because he had dropped in rank. Luckily, he hit a tree, so Jung-woo was still alive. Black couldn't help but suspect that Sudong had entered Jung-woo's body. Haram on the other side had found a new job selling insurance. She used her ability to see if this person was safe. Her next client was the daughter of a businessman, so she went to the school to investigate. Coincidentally, Black was also there. Then the two were surprised to see each other. Black asked her why she was there. Haram looked into the classroom again and saw a dark shadow inside Jung-woo. Black heard her mumbling, so he went to ask her what she was talking about. Haram said he knew, but still asked. He knew clearly that she could see ghosts, so why was she pretending? But Haram didn't know that the person in front of her was not the Mu gang she used to know, but a messenger from hell. Only now did Black remember the death of Haram's ex-boyfriend. Now he believed that Haram could see ghosts. Black wanted to use Haram's eyes to help him find Sudong's soul, so he pushed Haram's neck and asked her which student she saw the shadow in. Haram pointed to the male student sitting next to the window. Immediately after that, Mugan put a gun to Jung-woo's head. He wanted to force Sudong's soul to come out on its own, but Black suddenly realized that this person was not the person he was looking for. The soul begged Black to spare him. Seeing that Black didn't care, he threatened Black again. Black was the god of death, so why would he let a normal soul threaten him? Black pretended to be scared and told him to quickly enter Jung-woo's body. When Jung-woo was possessed by the soul and was about to leave, Black grabbed his collar because he knew that if the soul entered another person's body and died a second time, that soul would forget everything. That way, he wouldn't remember who Black was anymore. That night, Haram took the VIP customer's insurance contract and used her special eyes to protect the customer. No shadow means no problem. Then she went to the convenience store to buy some water. She was about to pay when she turned around and accidentally saw a little boy eating something. Haram looked around but couldn't see the boy's parents, so she asked. But the boy's actions were a bit unusual. The owner heard the noise and walked over. Haram asked if the boy wasn't in the owner's area. The owner immediately denied it. Haram suddenly realized that the boy seemed to have gotten lost, so she asked him where his house was. Then the boy took Haram out. Haram didn't know what to do with the boy. Anyone who didn't know would think she was bullying him, so Haram had no choice but to take the boy to the police station. Seeing that the boy wasn't wearing socks, she was kind enough to give him her socks. Not long after, the police found a way to contact the boy's father. They told Haram that the boy's father would be here soon. At this moment, the boy suddenly wanted to go to the toilet, but while walking, he peed in his pants. Haram had no choice but to take the boy's pants off and wash them. But after returning to the boy, her hand touched the boy's dark shadow. An illusion suddenly appeared. She clearly saw the boy locked in a suitcase and then saw him buried alive. Not long after, the boy's father arrived. When the father was about to hug the boy, Haram suddenly pushed him away, making the father confused. Haram angrily blamed the couple for not knowing how to take care of their child. The couple bowed and repeatedly apologized. The police said that the boy often ran away to play, so Haram changed her view of this parents. Then the father hugged his son and the whole family left. Haram was about to stand up when she saw a bag of money on the ground and quickly picked it up to see. It turned out that this wallet belonged to the boy's father. Haram quickly ran out to call them back to return the wallet. After that, she kindly told them not to lose the boy like that again and to keep an eye on him so he could stay home. The couple also felt confused by her words. The boy's parents found it strange but just bowed their heads in acknowledgement. After they turned away, Haram still stood there staring at the boy's dark shadow, unable to calm down. The next day, Haram woke up early and ran to the boy's front door, intending to stop the culprit. Seeing the boy's father leave the house for work, she discovered a strange man coming after him. It turned out that he was the boy's teacher. Because the boy hadn't been to class for several days, the teacher came to visit. Knowing that he was the boy's teacher, Haram quickly asked him if he had seen anyone bandage their hand. Before she could finish speaking, a man riding a bicycle unluckily ran into a banana peel. The teacher was injured while saving Haram, and the wound coincidentally was also on his hand. After arriving at the hospital, seeing the familiar bandage on his hand, Haram became suspicious and followed him to investigate. She thought thought he was the culprit, but there was no mark on the bandage. Haram was extremely confused. Black found Haram through GPS. He wanted to use his eyes that could see Haram's ghost to help him find the person. At this time, he saw a boy walking out the door, followed by 2 Grim Reapers following the boy. Black suddenly thought that just following the Grim Reaper would stop Haram from going crazy. Haram followed the teacher to school and saw that he seemed very friendly with the students, making Haram think that she was too suspicious. She was about to leave when she suddenly stopped because of the call of a student who wanted to stamp the document for the teacher. Hearing the stamping sound, Haram started to worry again, but the next scene was even more surprising. The teacher accidentally dropped the stamp. A naughty student picked it up and stamped it on the bandage on the teacher's hand. Now Haram could be sure that he was the murderer who would kill the boy, so she quickly took out her phone and filmed the teacher's face. Black on the other side followed the boy to the residential area. The boy did not go in, but climbed up the pipe. The teacher saw through the camera that the boy had sneaked into his house. The teacher was afraid that his secret would be revealed, so he quickly ran home. Haram saw the teacher coming out and quickly followed him and called her boss, Mansu, to investigate his identity. The teacher had been arrested for child molestation and filming sex with children in Paris. Haram was startled when she heard that. She quickly followed him, but when she reached the intersection, she was almost hit by a car because she did not look at the road. She kept apologizing to the driver, but when Haram turned back to continue, the teacher had disappeared without a trace. She had to go up to the roof to get a better view. Finally, she saw him pulling the suitcase out of the apartment building. Haram quickly called the boy's father and found out that the boy was not home and that his father was looking for him. Haram insisted that the boy was in the teacher's suitcase, but when he put the suitcase in the car and was about to leave, Haram rushed over and blocked the car. Then she grabbed his head and asked him to open the trunk. He swung his arms and pushed Haram down, but when he stepped on the gas pedal, Haram recklessly climbed onto the hood of the car, forcing him to stop. Of course, he refused to give up and kept pressing the gas pedal and braking until Haram fell to the ground by inertia. While the teacher was wondering what to do, Haram ran over and scolded him. The glass door caught Haram's arm. Then he dragged her whole body after the car. She shouted for him to stop the car, but of course, he wouldn't listen. Because Haram discovered his secret, he dragged her away for a while. At this time, Black appeared and stepped forward, raising both hands to block the front of the car, causing the whole car to bounce. The teacher sitting in the car couldn't help but panic. Black's actions made him even more terrified. Black stepped in front of him with a full of force look. Before the teacher could get out of the car, Black pulled him out. Black swung his arms and punched him several times in the face, then smashed his head against the side of the car. Next were the punches that made the teacher hastily beg for mercy. Black pushed him to the ground. Seeing his struggling appearance, Black kicked him again, knocking him unconscious. Haram quickly went behind to open the trunk. When she opened the suitcase, she didn't expect to find a little girl inside. Both of them were confused. It turned out that the boy had just sneaked into the teacher's house and wanted to drag the girl away. But when the boy told her to follow him down, the girl was so scared that she hesitated a bit. Just when the teacher returned, he quickly pulled her back. The boy was so scared that he fell from a high floor. The incident quickly attracted the attention of the people around. The teacher saw this and was about to put the girl in a coma, but unexpectedly, she fought back and bit him. He angrily pushed her away, but accidentally hit her head on the doorframe. Seeing her lying still and unconscious, he thought he had accidentally killed someone, so he put her body in a suitcase. The boy on the other side was taken to the hospital by ambulance in time. Black stood there and witnessed everything. After that, the girl was also taken to the hospital. Luckily, her condition was not too serious. The girl had no parents, only her grandmother who had a brain disease and was unable to move around to take care of her. The perverted teacher was arrested by the police and brought to face charges. Black thought this was over, so he quickly grabbed Haram's hand and told her to go find Sudom with him. But Haram said her hand hurt. Black thought Haram was just pretending to be in pain. Unexpectedly, Haram said that she was not a criminal, so why did he hold her hand like a criminal? Black had something to ask Haram, so he had to endure her scolding. But Haram said she wanted to go to that boy's house. Black asked why. She answered that she wanted to confirm whether the dark shadow on the boy's body had disappeared. Black thought that if the culprit was caught, of course it would be gone, but he was also helpless. He couldn't do anything about Haram's stubbornness. When he saw that there was no dark shadow behind the boy, Haram breathed a sigh of relief, but she didn't know that this wasn't the boy she had saved, because the boy she needed to save was already dead. Because last night, the father hated his stupid son so much that he coldly killed his son. Haram went to see the VIP customer of the insurance company, but did not see any dark shadow, but that person unfortunately passed away in a traffic accident. It turned out that a few days ago, Director Han went to the victim's house to investigate. When he saw the victim's childhood photo, the Grim Reaper suddenly appeared behind Director Han. It turned out that Director Han knew the victim when he was young. The victim girl had a mental illness, but had to work part-time at a hotel to make ends meet. After returning, Director Han picked up the photo to compare. In the video, there was a person wearing a watch who had made a transaction with the girl. Then Director Han found the investigation diary of Haram's father before, and saw that the girl had made a transaction. But Director Han did not expect that this news would cause his death. The next day, Director Han went to the company chairman because he remembered 10 years ago. The chairman was wearing a watch with the same face as in the video. The chairman rolled up his sleeve to Director Han see but couldn't find his watch. Director Han clearly remembered that the watch the man in the video was wearing was the watch on the chairman's wrist. Why couldn't he see it now? Then the chairman's eldest son walked in and recognized that Director Han was his father's best friend, so he greeted enthusiastically. Then, Director Han discovered the watch on the chairman's eldest son's wrist and asked where the butterfly watch the chairman was wearing was. The chairman's son, Man Ho, said that the watch was his now. Director Han was startled. It turned out that Man Ho was the one who had made the deal with the girl. Director Han didn't want to be suspected, so he pretended that nothing had happened. After going out, Director Han immediately called the criminal police and said that he had something important to discuss. Man Ho walked out as if he was thinking about something. On the way back, Director Han was too focused on looking at the evidence in his hand. When Director Han looked up, he saw a truck coming from the opposite direction and rushing straight towards him. A mysterious person got out of the car. On this side, Director Han unfortunately passed away. The mysterious person took out his phone from his pocket and reported that the incident had been handled. It turned out that this was not a random accident. The next day, the police found a notebook, a photo in Director Han's car, and a hotel advertisement. Man-Su came to scold Ha-Ram because she had confirmed that she did not see a dark shadow behind the director, but now there was an accident. Ha-Ram could not explain it either. She said that if she was not with him 24/7, it would be difficult to guarantee. The real culprit was the person wearing a butterfly watch and sitting enjoying a video of a beautiful girl. Then this person ordered the security to arrest that girl. But who was the girl who had made a deal with this mysterious person? The next day, Black did not wait for Ha-Ram downstairs. Unexpectedly, Ha-Ram tripped while walking. Seeing that, Black did not help her up and even avoided her when she fell. He also said that her nerves were unstable and leisurely told her to follow him. Ha-Ram wondered why he didn't help her up. Black saw that Ha-Ram didn't stand up, so he reached out his hand, but he just wanted Ha-Ram to hold on to his shirt. Seeing that she didn't hold on, he turned around and left immediately. Ha-Ram had no choice but to call him back. Now that Black was a death god, he only wanted to use Ha-Ram's eyes to find Sudong's soul. Ha-Ram asked why Black wanted to follow that woman. Black said that woman was a suspect in a serial murder case. Ha-Ram was shocked when he heard that. That woman looked so kind. Black said that the more cruel the murderer's methods were, the more ordinary their appearance would be. Hearing that, Ha-Ram decided to use her eyes to serve the people. Then a man in black leather rode a motorbike in front of the woman. Black told her to look closely to see if there was a dark shadow behind this man. But Ha-Ram didn't see anything unusual, so Black told Ha-Ram to come closer to see. When Ha-Ram got closer, she really saw a dark shadow behind him. She wanted to call the man back, but he was out of Black's sight. The two of them hurriedly ran after him, but while chasing Ha-Ram unfortunately fell. She shouted for Black, but Black was blocked by the thugs, so he let the man run away. It turned out that these were the people that Mu Gang beat up last time. Black just wanted to chase after the person with the dark shadow, but saw that they wouldn't give way. He rushed to fight them, but after he fought, the man ran away. Then Black went into the restaurant and saw Sudong's younger sister. There was also a person looking at the girl intently, so Black thought it was Sudong, so he rushed to grab the man. At this time, Ha-Ram also arrived. Black asked her to see if there was a dark shadow behind this person, but Ha-Ram denied it. Black told her to look carefully. Ha-Ram looked at the man's helmet and suddenly realized that Black thought this person was the one chasing her earlier. Only now did Black realize he had mistaken the person, so he hurriedly left. After that, they sat down to eat together. What happened next made Ha-Ram extremely embarrassed. She wanted Black to try the hot pot of this restaurant, and even fed him herself. Seeing that Black refused to eat the delicious meat, Ha-Ram had no choice but to eat it herself. Seeing her eating so deliciously, Black held her chin and used his thumb to wipe the hot pot sauce on her lips. The female students next to them admired his actions. Black was about to take a tissue to wipe his hands when he suddenly changed his mind. He wanted to taste it to see what it tasted like. Ha-Ram felt embarrassed by Black's actions. Black didn't pay much attention because he was already fascinated by the flavor. He just opened his mouth and ate. A female student asked Sudong's sister why the motorcyclist gave money to Sudong's sister. That question successfully attracted Black's attention. Just as Ha-Ram stood up to wash her hands, Sudong's younger sister hated the man on TV because her brother was the manager of this bar. Black turned to look at the man on TV. He thought Sudong would definitely take revenge on this person, so he entered the human body. This was a grand Halloween party. The people here were extremely rich. Ha-Ram walked in with heavy makeup because she wanted to confirm whether her super VIP guests were safe. While Ha-Ram was taking pictures with her boss, Black walked in. Ha-Ram was surprised to see Black appear with such a handsome and elegant appearance. Black knew that the man on TV, Gun-Woo, was also here today, and Sudong would definitely come along to take revenge. Black was going to observe the suspicious people when he was bumped into by a masked man. He also conveniently took Black's phone. Even a death god like Black did not notice anything unusual. Sun Young received a call. It turned out that the masked man had taken Black's phone to call Sun Young. Sun Young was startled when she heard that the person speaking was not her boyfriend's voice. The masked man told Sun Young that if she wanted to save her boyfriend, she should come here quickly. The man named Gun-Woo arrived. Not Not long after, the party officially began. Black stood on high and watched. Then Sun-Young walked over, without them knowing that someone was following them. Sun-Young told Black that she wanted to study in the US, so she came here to say goodbye. After saying that, she even went to kiss him. Haram got jealous, but Black pushed Sun-Young away because he was not Mugang. He was now a god of death. Suddenly, someone unexpectedly turned off the circuit breaker. Black looked down and saw that Sun-Young had left. Haram stood there feeling wronged. Then someone passed by and accidentally bumped into Haram. Haram's special ability told her that this person was about to die. But everything was dark, so Haram didn't know who had just bumped into her. Right after that, the electricity came back on and the party lights came back on. She really wanted to find that person. Black didn't see Sun-Young, so she curiously walked inside. A masked man bumped into Black. Black saw that he was injured. Black had a feeling that this person was the one who had harmed him before, so he quickly chased after this guy. He blocked the truck, but the person he was looking for wasn't in the car. At this time, the masked man drove away. Black quickly chased after this guy, but he was chasing Sun-Young because the masked man's target was her. When they passed through the tunnel, Black unexpectedly went through the pipe. Black climbed into the masked man's car. He quickly turned the wheel to knock Black off, but Black held on tightly and just sat there leisurely. Black punched the windshield hard, creating a hole. Black grabbed the steering wheel, but the masked man hit his hand. Seeing that it wouldn't work, this man had to bite Black with his mouth. Sun-Young witnessed everything. Black unbuckled his seatbelt and grabbed the masked man's head and slammed it into the steering wheel, but he quickly escaped. He quickly stepped on the brake. Black fell down by inertia, but was unharmed. Black angrily rushed towards the masked man but was ambushed. Black was beaten until he spat out blood. A normal person dared to hit him. Then Black rushed into a fight with the masked man, and of course he was no match for Black. Not long after, he was defeated. Black stepped on the masked man's face, but he secretly took a knife and cut Black's leg and took the opportunity to stab Black in the stomach. Taking the opportunity, he pushed Black to the railing, and then Black was pushed off the bridge. Blood continuously flowed out of Mugang's body. Sun-Young was caught by the masked man. Then Black opened his eyes. He discovered that he could not escape from Mugang's body. Then Black went to the restroom. He didn't understand why he couldn't get out of this body, so he pulled out the knife. At that moment, Haram walked in. Black didn't want her to see him struggling so much, so she pushed her away. Haram said that she had just seen a dark shadow and wanted to help Black find that person. Black told her to wait for him a moment. Then he washed himself and went out to drag Haram away. After returning, Haram always felt uneasy because she had just seen someone kissing Mugang at the party. After returning, Black asked his colleagues why he was stabbed in the stomach and fell into the water but couldn't get out of this body. Actually, the death god named Grim also knew about this. This death god was Haram's real neighbor, and this body belonged to the neighbor's younger brother. Because he couldn't find his brother's body, the death god didn't remember who he was. But Grim wouldn't tell Black about this and just said that he didn't know why either. The masked man took Sun-Young to the old warehouse and brutally beat her. The mysterious man wearing the butterfly watch wants the masked man to find Black. The mysterious man wearing the butterfly watch wants to live and see people. If die, he must see corpses. The next day, Black dressed very politely and went out to find Haram, but he suddenly discovered that he could no longer teleport. He suddenly remembered what Grim had said. This was a side effect. He was gradually becoming a human, and humans could not teleport. The masked man on the opposite side was watching in amazement when he saw that Black was still alive. Black could not teleport, so he walked to Haram's house and found a key in his pocket. He suddenly understood and decided to go find Mugang's car to meet Haram. After a while, Black finally found a human vehicle. He quickly got in the car to find Haram. Black thought he would know how to drive this car, but he held the key for a long time to find a way to open it. But after that, Black still could not drive. When Haram was little, a boy accidentally took off her sunglasses. She suddenly saw the scene where the boy was going to die. Haram was scared and didn't know what to do. The boy looked at his watch and said he was going to be late and quickly left. Haram wanted to chase after him and tell him about the shadow, but she suddenly saw a dark shadow behind all the students. That meant they were all going to die. The boy asked Haram where she felt uncomfortable, but Haram just grabbed his hand and told him not to go to the movies tomorrow. The boy asked her if she was talking about the movie trip he was invited to tomorrow. Haram suddenly realized that they would have trouble tomorrow, so she quickly stopped him from going. Another student urged the boy not to go because he would be late, so the boy ignored Haram's refusal to let him go. The boy's parents weren't rich, so they sold their wedding rings to buy movie tickets for him, but because of that, they never saw their son again. Just as Haram predicted, the next day the cinema collapsed. None of the 300 students survived. The boy's parents staggered to the scene and asked if their son's name was on the list of the dead, but surprisingly, the boy's name was not on the list. The boy's parents breathed a sigh of relief, but before they could rejoice, the police took a box from the corner and asked them to confirm whether it was their son's hand. When the father, Tae-chul, opened the box, the mother could not bear it any longer. Inside was indeed their son's hand, because on it was her wedding ring that the boy had redeemed. Not long after, the parents of the dead students went to the government to ask them to investigate the truth behind the tragic deaths of the 300 students. But the head of the cinema was not there. It was said that the cinema owner had unfortunately unfortunately died in a traffic accident, so the case had to end there. Now Haram accidentally bumped into a man. She sensed that the man would be killed by the man wearing the butterfly watch, but she didn't know that he was Tae-chul, the boy's father before. Then she went to the chairman. The boss accidentally pushed Haram into the chairman. She felt that the chairman would die because the man wearing the butterfly watch pulled out the breathing tube. To investigate who that person was, she took Black to Tae-chul's place. Haram found a photo on the table and discovered that the man was the boy's father before. Then they went to Tae-chul's best friend, Min-suk, and asked him if he had seen Tae-chul recently. Min-suk said that 15 years ago, after the collapse that killed 300 students, he had not seen Tae-chul anymore. Seeing that, Black intentionally dropped a cup on Min-suk's foot. Min-suk quickly took off his shoes and changed his socks. Black said that Min-suk had just lied because his shoe prints were identical to the shoe prints left on Tae-chul's bed. Haram suddenly discovered that Min-suk knew Mansu's father, so Min-suk was also very suspicious. So they sat outside the door. Finally, Min-suk came out. They decided to follow him and saw Min-suk enter a villa. To determine if Min-suk was the murderer, they had to find out if he had a butterfly watch. Black told Haram to wait in the car while he went out to investigate. When Black entered, he carefully assessed the room. Finally, he found the butterfly watch that the murderer was wearing in the closet. But was Min-suk really the murderer? Black fought with the flies in Min-suk's house, but accidentally dropped evidence of his crime. Haram rushed to check. It turned out to be evidence proving that Min-suk had embezzled the support money. Haram suspected that this was the document that Tae-chul had taken a long time to find. That was why Min-suk wanted to kill Tae-chul. After that, they arrested Min-suk and went to the hospital to confirm if Tae-chul was the one wearing the butterfly watch. Black suddenly saw a truck, and this was the car Tae-chul was driving. After Haram went inside, Black saw Tae-chul coming out and 2 Grim Reapers following him. Black suddenly remembered what happened at Tae-chul's house. After discovering Black, Min-suk attacked, but Black was faster. Black knocked Min-suk down. Black asked if the watch was his, but Min-suk only said he stole it. It turned out that he sneaked into Tae-chul's house to find this expensive watch. To find the real culprit, Black drove after Tae-chul. Haram saw a dark shadow next to the chairman and saw that the chairman would be murdered by the person wearing the butterfly watch. She reached out to touch the dark shadow. Only then did she realize that Min-suk was not the murderer. If it wasn't Min-suk, then Tae-chul could have been murdered by the murderer at any time. Haram ran to check the camera and saw that the clothes on Tae-chul were exactly the same as the person she bumped into yesterday. Black followed Tae-chul to the warehouse. Black caught Tae-chul kidnapping someone with 2 Grim Reapers beside him. Black suddenly remembered what Haram told him last night. She said she saw a dark shadow when the lights were off. It seemed that the person was kidnapped and tied to a chair, unable to move. There was also an explosion there. It turned out that Haram had bumped into the person who was being kidnapped. There was a pile of explosives next to Tae-chul. Black then followed Tae-chul again, but he discovered Black. When Tae-chul knew that Black was a police officer, Tae-chul suspected his enemy called the police, but as a Grim Reaper, Black couldn't stand having a human point a knife at him. Black quickly pressed Tae-chul against the wall and pushed him down. Only then did Tae-chul see the butterfly clock fall to the ground. Haram went to Tae-chul's wife and also saw a dark shadow. She was about to touch it, but the doctor pushed her away for a test and accidentally dropped the photo frame on the table. Haram sat down to look and saw a photo inside, and this photo was of the old cinema owner. On this side, Black asked who the watch belonged to. Tae-chul said that it was the watch that the son of the cinema owner wore. But was the murderer wearing that watch really the one who did those evil things? That year, Tae-chul's wife thought that the cinema owner was just faking his death to escape punishment, so she went abroad alone to find him. She went to work as a housekeeper for the cinema owner's second wife because she was sure that he would come here. After many attempts, Tae-chul's wife finally waited for this day. She took a camera to take evidence. 15 years later, Tae-chul kidnapped the son of the cinema owner to avenge his son, but was caught by Black. Tae-chul recounted what happened in the past 15 years and said that the explosives on the table were all fake. Tae-chul broadcasted the kidnapping to lure the cinema owner to reveal himself. Finally, Black agreed to Tae-chul's method. Seeing that Black was no longer on guard, Tae-chul used an electric baton to knock him unconscious. Then Tae-chul appeared on the city's television screen and exposed the fact that the cinema owner was still alive. Haram also saw that scene. They were searching for the location where Tae-chul kidnapped the cinema owner's son. Haram told Mansu about the scene she saw. Mansu heard that there were no cars on the road next to it. He thought for a while and finally found the warehouse, so they quickly went there. Tae-chul waited for a long time, but the cinema owner didn't come, so he pressed the detonation button, and the mysterious person also pressed the button. Mansu saw that Haram was in danger, so he rushed to protect her, but was hit in the head by rocks. The glass doors were all shattered. A huge fire broke out. Then they woke up. Haram remembered that the cinema owner's son was in danger. Mansu's leg was stuck in a pile of rocks. Black also woke up and saw that the place had exploded. Haram ran to the son and saw that he had stopped breathing. When she took off her hood, she was surprised to see Tae-chul's wife. Tae-chul was shocked and didn't understand. Obviously, the explosive was fake. How could it explode? It turned out that the mysterious person was behind it and plotted to change the fake into the real one, and was also the one who swapped Taechul's wife with the son of the cinema owner. The mysterious person killed Taechul's wife and showed it to Taechul. Taechul was extremely regretful when he saw his wife dead. The police only now arrived and pointed their guns at Taechul. Now Taechul didn't want to live anymore. When Taechul was about to press the button, he was shot many times by the police. Before he died, Taechul stuffed the picture of the cinema owner's son into Black's hand and left in pain and regret. Black stood on high and announced that the cinema owner was still alive. His picture was spread all over the country. His picture was spread all over Seoul. He had faked his death, but then the government said he was still alive. The wanted order was also issued throughout the country. The wife Seoul and Taechul saw this scene, bowed to thank Black, then followed the god of death to hell. The cinema owner was about to escape when he was killed by a mysterious person. Black saw two messengers of hell following the girl Yang-Hee. When Haram was about to leave, Black hugged her. Facing this action of his, Haram was a bit confused. Black thought that she absolutely could not be allowed to hinder the work of the messenger of hell's colleague. After Yang-Hee left, Black let her go. At this time, Haram saw a black shadow behind the little girl, so she approached and touched the black smoke. It turned out that the little girl had been carried by someone and left this world. At this time, the little girl's mother also came over. Haram approached and continued to touch the black smoke. It turned out that the mother had carried her daughter and jumped off the building. This action of hers made Black feel very helpless. Yang-Hee recognized Haram as Mansu's employee. She told Haram that Mansu had set a trap to rape her on Halloween, after which Haram went to see her boss. As soon as they met, Haram went up and slapped Mansu. Then Haram scolded him for molesting Yang-Hee that day. At this time, Mansu saw the news of him molesting women on the screen, making him confused and not understanding what was happening. Haram wanted to drag Mansu to confess, but he was not doing that. Then Mansu returned to the company. A crowd of reporters were waiting for him. He stood in front of the media and declared that Yang-Hee had slandered him. He also affirmed that he would make Yang-Hee receive the punishment she deserved. Meanwhile, the girl was walking on the street when her classmates called her a bad girl, making her cry. Yang-Hee saw her daughter being bullied and went to comfort her daughter. Then Yang-Hee pulled the boy to apologize to her daughter. At this time, the boy's mother also arrived. This woman stepped forward and pushed Yang-Hee to the ground. The boy's mother said that Yang-Hee was a mother who didn't know how to do anything but just knew how to cheat. This made Yang-Hee very angry. The boy's mother also said that Yang-Hee had a child but still accused others of sexual assault. Hearing this, Yang-Hee couldn't bear it anymore. When the boy's mother was about to leave, Yang-Hee grabbed her hair and then the battle between the two sides began. The girl ran to Black and begged him to save her mother. She even gave Black her only lollipop but still didn't receive help from the cold Black. Just a moment later, the lawyer came to Yang-Hee. He gave Yang-Hee a settlement agreement. Yang-Hee only needed to sign it to receive 10 billion won. Yang-Hee looked at the content of the agreement. It required her to admit that she had seduced Mansu and admitted that the injuries on her body were self-inflicted. But Yang-Hee did not accept hiding the truth like that. She decided to ask the public and the media to give her justice. But the lawyer said that she would have to go to jail. Then he threatened her with Yang-Hee's daughter. Unexpectedly, Yang-Hee's daughter heard all of this. The next day, she went to Mansu and begged him to forgive her mother. She wrote her name on the settlement agreement but still did not receive his forgiveness. Because he did not know that the lawyer had come to find Yang-Hee to settle, so Mansu called and scolded the lawyer. Then he went to find his friends who attended the Halloween party that day, but they also heard that he had entered Yang-Hee's room that day. Then Mansu went to Gunwoo to ask about this. Gunwoo said that he saw Yang-Hee jump from the upper floor to the backyard. Her whole body was injured. Gunwoo also vaguely saw someone standing upstairs, covered in glowing green paint. That person was Mansu. Since Yang-Hee couldn't exonerate herself, she left her last words on the rooftop and then prepared to carry her daughter to jump down from here. At this time, Haram and Mansu arrived. He knelt down in front of Yang-Hee, admitted that he had raped Yang-Hee, and begged her not to leave this world. He would turn himself in. The dark shadow behind Yang-Hee immediately disappeared. Yang-Hee looked at the wound on Mansu's neck. She said that he hadn't raped her. The person who raped her that day wasn't Mansu, because that day she had left a wound on that person's neck, but on the right side. Only then did Mansu realize that he had been drunk that day and that this wasn't what he did, and Gunwoo had lied. At this moment, Haram saw the dark shadow appear behind Yang-Hee and Mansu again. It also means that both of them are about to die. So Haram touches the black smoke. Mansu grabs Haram's hand and asks her to take care of Yang-Hee. He will go find out the truth of this. Then, Haram takes Yang-Hee to the police station because that's the only way to protect her. Haram asks Black to protect Mansu because she saw a dark shadow behind him. She also tells Black that Mansu was hanged by a mysterious person. Moreover, the middle finger of the mysterious person was bitten off by a dog. At that moment, she had an asthma attack. Yang-Hee can only beg Haram to let her go home to get medicine. At this time, Haram remembers the scene where Yang-Hee left this world at home. So Haram decides to go home to get medicine to help Yang-Hee. Meanwhile, the mysterious person uses a rope to strangle Mansu and hang him up. Unexpectedly, everything was seen by the two messengers of hell and Black. In just a moment, Mansu stopped breathing. Black could only stand and watch because he was also a messenger of hell, so he could not interfere interfere with the life and death of humans. When the mysterious man thought he had succeeded and was about to leave, Black suddenly appeared and stood in front of the mysterious man. Then the two began to fight. At this time, Black looked closely at this man. It turned out that he was not the mysterious man who lost his middle finger. Black glanced at the sausage next to him, and it turned out that Haram had seen wrongly. The mysterious man took advantage of the gap to kick Black hard, causing him to fall to the ground. Then this man quickly left. Black tried to chase after this man, but Mansu used his leg to hold Black's neck. Mansu begged Black to save him. Only then did Black realize that Mansu was still alive. The two messengers of hell sat on the bed and laughed. Meanwhile, Haram was looking for medicine at Yang He's house when suddenly a mysterious man appeared behind her. Haram sensed something, but it was too late. The mysterious man used a rope to strangle her. In just a moment, Haram fainted because she couldn't bear it anymore. Then the mysterious man pulled her legs and dragged her away. Then he put her in the bathtub. The mysterious man picked up a knife and prepared to fake Haram's death. Luckily, Haram woke up in time. She grabbed the water hose and hit the mysterious man on the head, injuring him. Then she turned on the hot water and sprayed it straight into the mysterious man's face. In just a moment, Haram was still pressed down into the bathtub by the mysterious man. After a few minutes of struggling, Haram fainted from exhaustion. At this time, Yang He returned home and grabbed the water hose and hit the mysterious man's head again. Then she helped Haram up from the water. It turned out that after Haram left the police station, Black didn't want Haram to get involved with the messengers of hell, so he released Yang He and her daughter. At this time, Haram woke up, but the mysterious man pushed Yang He's daughter down and left. Haram felt that Yang He and her daughter were still in great danger, so Haram took Yang He to Black's house. Yang He said that the man who raped her had the smell of mugwort on him. Haram remembered that Halloween day, Mansu's nephew Sanmin also had the same smell, so Haram went to Sanmin's hospital room. She saw the scratch marks on Sanmin's neck left by his fingernails. Only then did Haram understand that everything was caused by Sanmin. She prepared to arrest Sanmin and take him to confess. Meanwhile, Black returned home and found that his soul gem had disappeared, so he called Haram to ask about this, but Haram just said that she had caught the suspect. Unexpectedly, Black then heard her scream. Black realized that Haram was in danger, so he used his teleportation ability to go to Sangmin's hospital room. He found Haram's phone on the floor, but she had disappeared without a trace. Sangmin took Haram to a remote place. Then he called his father for help. It turned out that the framing of Mansu was arranged by Sangmin's father. Black found out Sangmin's license plate number through the surveillance camera. Then he went to the police station and asked his colleagues to check all the surveillance on the street. Finally, they found the location of Sangmin's car. Sangmin was still waiting for his father to arrive. He saw the car approaching and thought it was his father arriving. However, when he looked again, the person in the car was Black, so he ran away. Black hurriedly chased Sangmin and crashed into obstacles on the side of the road. After that, the intense car race began. Black tried to chase the car in front but was continuously stopped by Sangmin. Seeing the situation, Black had no choice but to crash into the back of the car first. After a few collisions, the rear trunk of the car in front suddenly opened. At this time, Black saw Haram inside the trunk. For Haram's safety, Black stopped crashing. Black accelerated parallel to the car in front and signaled Sangmin to stop the car immediately, but Sangmin refused to listen to him. So Black accelerated and crashed into Sangmin's car from the side. Just a moment later, an obstacle appeared in front. Black quickly stepped on the brakes and Sangmin's wheel pressed on a rock, causing Haram, who was lying in the trunk, to be thrown out. Sangmin lost control and the car flew high into the air. Black hurriedly ran to Haram's side and repeatedly woke her up. Meanwhile, Sangmin picked up the shovel on the ground. At this moment, Haram finally woke up. Black also breathed a sigh of relief after a long time of worrying. But at that moment, Sangmin angrily stepped forward with an angry look. He took the shovel and hit Black straight on the head. Then Sangmin picked up another steel bar on the ground, intending to stab Black. Haram quickly shielded Black. In the dangerous moment, Black grabbed the steel bar. At this moment, Sangmin heard the sound of a police car and realized that he had no way out. Black fell into a coma. Not long after, Sangmin was taken to the interrogation room. He said that he was drunk that Halloween night and did not remember raping Yang He. Beating Black was just self-defense. Sangmin's lawyer also took out his mental health records and confirmed that he was mentally unstable. Furthermore, Sangmin was still underage, and this was his first crime. His father had connections with the government and many powerful people. Therefore, the police only detained Sangmin for surveillance for 1 year in Korea. During this time, he was absolutely not allowed to leave the country. At night, Mansu returned home to find his pet dog. At this time, 2 bodyguards appeared in front of him, and they arrested him and brought him to Manho's brother. Then Manho brought Mansu's pet dog to this place and intended to kill the dog right in front of Mansu. At this time, Mansu knelt down in front of Manho and begged Manho to spare his dog and beat him however Manho wanted. Manho followed suit and frantically beat Mansu. At that moment, the pet dog bit Manho to protect its owner. Just a moment later, Manho escaped the dog's attack and used a golf club to beat Mansu's pet dog to death. Since Mansu lost his mother, this dog was his only spiritual support. After that, Manho took out a paper to give up the inheritance of the LK group. Then Manho took Mansu's hand and pressed his fingerprint on it. Meanwhile, Sangmin was enjoying the sex video. The next day when he woke woke up, he found himself in the airport lobby with his passport in his hand. The Korean people around him took out their phones to take pictures. Sang-min hurriedly searched for his phone. Finally, he searched in his suitcase and accidentally dropped a package of white powder. The people immediately recognized it as drugs. Sang-min still did not realize the seriousness of the incident. The news reported that there were a lot of drugs in Sang-min's suitcase. Very quickly, the police arrested Sang-min. It turned out that everything that happened the night before had been seen by Black. He then sneaked into Sang-min's room. This country is very tolerant of minors and also very tolerant of tycoons. However, when Sang-min was in a deep sleep, Black found the passport and drugs in the room and brought them all to the airport lobby. Then he put on a mask and left in a very elegant manner. At the same time, the site of the collapsed cinema has now been rebuilt into a high-rise building. During the construction, they discovered a body. At the same time, black smoke surrounded Black's colleague, the messenger of hell. He also did not understand why this happened to him. After a while, he transformed into another form. Grimm told him that when the body was found, the messenger would return to its original form. This body was that of a student named Soo-young, who died in the collapsed cinema years ago. Soo-young's parents heard the news and cried loudly. Afterwards, people gathered to protest in front of the LK Group's gate. They opposed the LK Group's development of the site of the former cinema because they thought it was an unlucky land. This scene made Man-soo's older brother, Man-ho, extremely worried. Ha-ram had just returned home. Her mother had been waiting in front of the house for a long time. Her mother asked Ha-ram if she had seen the dark shadow on her stepfather's body. Ha-ram said she saw it, but she didn't want to save that inhuman stepfather. Her mother said that her stepfather couldn't die because her younger brother had a blood disease. Her younger brother needed her stepfather's bone marrow to live. She had previously had money for surgery, but her stepfather had already gambled away the money. But Ha-ram still hated her stepfather. She told her mother that she would absolutely not save her stepfather. Faced with her refusal, her mother could only silently endure it. Ha-ram went home to eat something. When she looked at the boiled eggs in the bowl, she suddenly remembered that her younger brother was innocent. So she decided to save her stepfather. She wore sunglasses to the hospital gate and then took them off. As expected, a dark shadow appeared on her younger brother. So she went to find her stepfather. She was about to step forward to touch the shadow when her stepfather got in the car and left. Ha-ram had no choice but to call a taxi and chase after him, but her stepfather continued to borrow money from loan sharks and gamble. Later, her stepfather became a henchman for this group of people because he wanted to borrow money. When Ha-ram followed her stepfather, she saw a dark shadow appear behind the group. She didn't know what would happen next. Unexpectedly, Black was also there. Then Black and Ha-ram drove after the group, but on the way, they met the captain of the criminal police team. He immediately pulled Black out of the car. Ha-ram was forced to continue chasing. At this time, the henchmen started to clash with the people. The henchmen were called by Man-ho from the LK Group. The people came to prevent the LK Group from developing that land. Ha-ram saw the dark shadow appear all over this group of people, so she went forward to stop them, but was pushed to the ground by them. She felt that this group of people would be burned to death in the fire. Then she met her stepfather again. She felt that her stepfather had died saving the child. At this time, Black ran over. He saw that there were messengers of hell standing around the group of people, so he hurriedly ran to protect Ha-ram. At this time, the old man had entered the makeshift house. No one knew that a mysterious person had scattered gasoline around the house. Then he secretly took out a lighter from his pocket and lit a piece of paper and threw it into the place where the gasoline had been poured. The house began to burn fiercely. The mysterious person quietly left the scene without leaving a trace. At this time, Ha-ram saw black smoke rising, so she hurriedly ran there. The police captain stepped forward and fired a shot into the sky. At this time, the henchmen and the villagers stopped fighting. Ha-ram ran to the house. She saw that the main door was locked with a padlock. Ha-ram was confused and didn't know what to do. The old man broke the window glass. Ha-ram looked inside and saw that the children inside all had black shadows on them. At this time, Black saw smoke rising from afar. He rushed over. Ha-ram held a rock and hit the lock, but it seemed to have no effect. Black saw a house full of hell messengers up there. Ha-ram called him to help her, but Black was also a hell messenger, so he could not get involved in human affairs. Otherwise, he would be banished to the 18th floor of hell and fried in boiling oil. At this time, he remembered what Tae-chul had told him. Children who lost their parents were called orphans. What were those who lost their parents called? After thinking for a while, Black decided to go ahead and save those children. He pushed Ha-ram aside and used all his strength to bend the iron bars on the window. Then, he carried each child out from inside. At this time, the police captain and the parents also ran over. The police captain used a gun to blow the lock, so a few children were saved in time. Ha-ram rushed into the house. The roof was on fire. Black also rushed in. Ha-ram held the child in her arms. She felt that this child was the boy her stepfather wanted to save. Black then took Haram out safely. After this incident, Haram asked her stepfather to save her younger brother, and he agreed. At this time, Manho called the mysterious person to ask why the door was locked. He just wanted to scare them. It seemed like the mysterious person was playing a trick. When Haram arrived at the door of her younger brother's operating room, she felt relieved when she saw that her brother was no longer had the dark shadow behind. When Haram got home from school, she was surprised to see a billow of black smoke rising from behind her father. She reached out to touch the shadow. She clearly felt that her father had been pushed down from the tall building by the assassin with the spider tattoo on his hand. That night, Haram's father fought the assassin to save the boy. Unexpectedly, he dared to confront the killer. In just a moment, he subdued the killer. But when he was about to take the killer to the police station, the killer suddenly attacked Haram's father from behind and brutally killed him. Then the killer threw Haram's father's body from a tall building. Early the next morning, Haram saw her father's body at the crime scene. She saw an old man with a tattoo on the back of his hand. Haram recognized him as the one who killed her father. When she reported to the police, the killer had already left the crime scene. Because Haram recognized the spider tattoo on the killer's hand, he used a hot iron to remove his tattoo. 20 years later, Haram went to the killer's wife's younger sister's house. At this time, she saw black smoke rising from behind the killer's wife's younger sister. She reached out to touch that black shadow. Haram clearly felt that this woman had been murdered by the husband of her older sister. Haram immediately pulled the woman over and told her that husband of her older sister was going to kill her. The woman didn't believe Haram, so she closed the door. Haram didn't know what to do, so she took out her phone and called the police. She told the police that a serial killer was planning to commit a crime here. At that moment, a truck carrying a broken refrigerator passed by. Haram sensed that the killer was committing a crime in the woman's house. She pulled a chair and climbed inside. When Haram entered the house, she saw the woman lying in a pool of blood. She checked to see if the woman still had a pulse and vaguely felt that someone was following her. So she took a fruit knife and approached. When she pulled the curtain open, she found that the killer had disappeared. She went to the window. She saw that the killer was about to leave the place. So she ran downstairs and secretly followed him. She saw that the killer had gotten into the truck. Haram followed behind. The car drove to a deserted place with no one around. Haram hurriedly took out a fruit knife from her pocket and staggered to the front of the truck to check. Unexpectedly, the killer in the car had disappeared without a trace. Suddenly, a strong hand pulled Haram to the ground. Haram stood up, holding the knife and pointing it at the killer, asking if he had killed her father. After she finished speaking, she rushed to attack the killer, but Haram was no match for him. He kicked Haram straight at her, causing her to fall to the ground. Then he grabbed the knife from Haram's hand and pressed it against her neck. He asked who her father was. Haram said the name Soo-hyuk. Then she took advantage of the moment when the killer was distracted to bite his hand hard and quickly picked up the knife on the ground, preparing to attack again. Black went to Haram's house and found a photo on the ground. He picked it up and saw that the photo was of the serial killer, Yong-chun. At this time, Black realized that Haram had gone to find the murderer Yong-chun, so he immediately teleported to Yong-chun's younger sister-in-law's house. Black saw Yong-chun's younger sister-in-law lying in a pool of blood. The police captain also immediately arrived at the scene. The police found Yong-chun through a nearby security camera, and Haram was riding a bike following behind. Black felt that Haram was in danger, so he called and went to look for Haram, but she couldn't answer the phone. At that moment, he saw Haram's shoe fall on the ground. He continued to search for Haram. Then he saw the police discover another crime scene. Black went inside and found a phone next to a pool of blood. It was Haram's phone. Elsewhere, the messenger of hell discovered the soul gem in the basement of the hospital, and this gem belonged to Black. The messenger of hell opened it and saw Haram inside. Then Black risked his life to find Haram in the heavy rain. At this time, he received a call, and it turned out that the results of the on-site examination were out. They determined that the blood on the second crime scene belonged to Haram. If someone of her size lost more than 2 liters of blood, she definitely wouldn't be alive. Black's heart couldn't calm down, so he went to the second crime scene again and made a judgment about Haram's death posture. He swore that he would definitely find Yong-chun. Early the next morning, Black turned on Haram's phone. Inside was a recording of Haram's report. Black heard a truck collecting broken refrigerators passing by, so Black compared the time and went outside the crime scene. He wanted to compare the time Haram reported with the time the truck passed by yesterday and find the driver of that truck. After a while, the truck collecting broken refrigerators really arrived, so Black went up to ask the driver if there was anyone suspicious around yesterday. The driver said that he accidentally hit a refrigerated truck that was parked illegally that day, but strangely, the license plate of that truck had all the letters erased. The driver called the contact number on the truck several times, but no one answered, so the driver left his contact information, but no one contacted contacted him. Black asked the driver to give him the phone number of the suspect in the truck. Then Black followed the suspect's phone number and went to Yongchun's house. When he arrived at the warehouse, Black found blood on the floor, and the blood was coming from the refrigerator. He opened the refrigerator door and found that there was no one inside. But when he turned around, he saw a shoe. At that moment, he remembered Haram's other shoe, so he rushed to check and found out that this person was not Haram. Finally, Black breathed a sigh of relief. At this moment, Yongchun returned home. Black immediately started fighting with Yongchun. Black asked where Haram was. Yongchun said that he would take Black to find her body. This made Black cry. Then Yongchun drove Black to find Haram. Unexpectedly, Yongchun went crazy. He said that Haram really made him enjoy the feeling of killing. Black heard this and kept punching Yongchun. At that moment, the car crashed into a tree. At this time, Black also gradually fell into a state of confusion. Yongchun picked up the hammer and continuously hit Black's heart. Then Yongchun threw Black to a remote place and drove away alone. Gun-woo was filming in the hospital. The mysterious person protected him. At this time, Yongchun had infiltrated the hospital, and his target this time was Gun-woo. When Gun-woo was resting in the break room, the mysterious person came there and told Gun-woo to move to the next room, because their room was someone here who needed. The mysterious person made Gun-woo leave because he knew that Yongchun would come to kill Gun-woo. When Gun-woo left the room, Yongchun entered the break room. What Yongchun didn't know was that the person in this room was not Gun-woo. When Yongchun was about to do something cruel, the mysterious person grabbed the knife in his hand and pulled off the blindfold. At this moment, Black entered, making Yongchun extremely surprised, because Yongchun had clearly just killed Black. Black asked where Haram was, and then he rushed to fight with Yongchun. But Yongchun took this opportunity to escape from the break room. Unexpectedly, the police discovered Yongchun in the hospital lobby, but the police were kicked down by Yongchun. Black continued to chase Yongchun. Yongchun took the police gun and ran out of the hospital. As soon as he got out, Yongchun knocked out the bus driver, then drove the bus, kidnapped all the passengers, and escaped. At this time, Black chased next to the bus and asked the killer to stop the car. The police captain drove up and saw Black. Black got in the car and continued to chase Yongchun. Black told the captain that Yongchun had a gun because Yongchun had robbed a policeman in the hospital. The captain heard that and called for support. After a while, they caught up with Yongchun's car. Black kept shouting for Yongchun to stop the car immediately, but he did not comply. The captain intended to use the walkie-talkie to hit Yongchun, but seeing that Yongchun had a gun in his hand, the captain hid inside. Black stood up and told the captain to come closer. Then he took advantage of this opportunity to jump in. The tense battle in the car began. Yongchun intended to use the gun to deal with Black, but Black twisted his arm and threw the gun aside. Then Black strangled Yongchun and forced him to stop the car immediately and kept asking where Haram was. At this time, another policeman drove up, but what Black did not know was that this person was a traitor in the criminal police team. This person only followed the orders of a mysterious person. He wanted to kill Yongchun to hide the identity of the mysterious person. Unexpectedly, the shot hit Black in the head. However, Black was the messenger of hell, so he had an immortal body. Black continued to strangle Yongchun and forced him to say where Haram was. But just as Yongchun was about to speak, a gunshot hit his head. Black jumped out of the car. At this time, the police car had just arrived. When Black approached to ask where Haram was, Yongchun was already dead. At this time, Black saw the messenger of hell preparing to take Yongchun's soul away. Yongchun just looked at Black and turned around to leave. Black had no strength left, so he collapsed to the ground. He still didn't know if Haram was alive or dead. At this time, Black was very confused. When the ambulance was about to take Black to the hospital, he remembered that day when he discovered the key under the bridge. So he took out the needle in his hand and went under the bridge where he discovered the iron box. There was a large lock hanging on the iron door. Black held a flashlight and shined it inside and saw Haram sitting inside. He used force to break the iron bars and walked to Haram's side. Black thought that Haram had died at Yongchun's hands, so she hugged her tightly and kept apologizing. Then he gently placed her rely the wall. Unexpectedly, Haram made a sound. Only then did Black know that Haram was still alive. When Haram woke up, she thought the person in front of her was Yongchun, so she pushed Black away. It seemed that Haram had suffered a lot. Suddenly she ran to hug a stranger beside her. Black saw that the person was Man-Soo. It turned out that at this time, when Yongchun was about to deal with Haram, Man-Soo pushed him to the ground. But Yongchun stood up and continuously kicked Man-Soo. When Yongchun approached Haram, Man-Soo grabbed his leg. Haram took this opportunity to quickly run away, but Yongchun continued to kick Man-Soo. When Yongchun approached Haram with a knife again, Man-Soo rushed to hug his waist. Unexpectedly, Yongchun stabbed the knife straight into Man-Soo's back. At that time, Haram picked up a rock and hit Yongchun in the head, and then brought Man-Soo inside the iron door under the bridge. At this time, Man-Soo's life was in danger. Haram tore a piece of cloth from her body to bandage Mansu's wound. She told Mansu to hang on. Haram wanted to call for help but found that there was no signal. At this time, Yongchun also stepped forward. Haram remembered what her brother had said, that if she was in danger, the safest way was to lock herself up and the enemy would not be able to get close. So Haram closed the iron door, hooked a large lock, and locked herself and Mansu inside. At this moment, Yongchun rushed straight towards them. He swung his knife at Haram. Unexpectedly, the key fell out. Yongchun picked up the key. When he was about to unlock it, he suddenly changed his mind. He wanted the two of them to die in here, so he went out and threw the key into the water. Not long after, they were taken to the hospital by ambulance. Haram's stepfather looked at them with a strange look. Manho's first day as the chairman of LK Group. While the shareholders were applauding the police captain for issuing an arrest warrant, the incident attracted the attention of the media. On the way back to the police station, the police captain announced that Manho had colluded with Yongchun's younger sister-in-law to put Yongchun in a mental hospital. This made Manho extremely angry, but the police captain did not care about Manho. He suspected that because the actress Mi-soo was Manho's close friend, Yongchun killed Mi-soo. Manho immediately denied it. The police captain also suspected that Jinsuk was killed by Manho. He then took out a photo and said that the watch in the photo belonged to Manho. But of course, Manho would not admit it. Because they had captured the chairman of LK Group, the police captain and his teammates celebrated at a restaurant. However, he did not know that capturing Manho might mean that he would not survive the night. When the police team leader was about to go to the bathroom, he accidentally knocked the bowl of food from the table next to him to the ground. When he bent down to pick up the bag on the floor, he saw a doll and seemed to think of something. He immediately put the bag down and left. At this time, his colleague had almost finished drinking. At that moment, the team leader of the second team, who was the traitor, suddenly received a call from the police team leader's phone. It turned out that the mysterious person had called from the police team leader's phone. It seemed that he had done something. The police team leader, covered in wounds, crawled out of the car. At this time, the mysterious person squatted in front of him and showed him the watch. It turned out that the murderer, Yongchun, had done everything, and Manho was not the real culprit. Haram was holding her phone and watching the video of Black capturing Yongchun. Black in the video kept asking him where Haram was. Only then did she realize that she had misunderstood Black. At this time, Black walked over and said goodbye to Haram. When Black was about to leave, Haram ran over and hugged him. Then she used her real actions to express her feelings. They started to love each other. At this time, a strange pattern appeared on Black's neck. Haram's mother passed by and saw her daughter in love. Haram's mother didn't want to bother them, but when Haram's mother looked more closely, she was extremely surprised because 20 years ago, her daughter had gone missing and she had called the police for help in finding her daughter. At this time, Haram's father held his daughter's hand and appeared with strange patterns on his neck. Haram's mother happened to see this scene. Only after a while did the pattern on his neck disappear, and Haram's mother realized that the man in front of her was the messenger of hell. When she saw the pattern on Black's neck, Haram's mother was so scared that she didn't know what to do. The congressman was very popular with the people and was about to become president. Who would have thought that behind him was a pervert? 20 years ago, he was a reporter. During an interview related to prostitution with a beautiful girl, and that girl was Sun Young, he found an excuse to change the tape in the camera. Sun Young still didn't know that disaster was about to strike. After changing the tape, he asked Sun Young where she had done the prostitution. Sun Young replied that a car had come to pick her up at that time, and it seemed to be at the villa on the mountain. Sun Young thought that the interview was over, so she hurriedly found an excuse to leave. Unexpectedly, he stopped her. Then he took off his hat and turned on the camera. He asked Sun Young how much money she received each time. This surprised Sun Young. He said that he could also pay that amount, but Sun Young didn't know that the person who had done the transaction at the villa last time was also this person. He was a pervert who wanted to rape Sun Young. Sun Young tried to run away, but was pushed to the ground by him. Then he sat down and reached out to stroke Sun Young's face and angrily slapped Sun Young hard. No matter how the girl screamed and resisted, he still pulled her aside. The louder Sun Young cried for help, the more excited he became. Then he forced Sun Young to have sex with him. The tape in the camera became evidence. He then threatened Sun Young that if she dared to report to the police, he would secretly sell her to an island. 20 years later, Sun Young told Black about this. Black asked Sun Young where the tape was, but she didn't know. She only remembered that she had run away with Jin Suk at that time, but was caught by Yongchun. He kept asking for the tape, but Sun Young didn't know where it was. At this time, a boy appeared with the tape and rescued her. Seeing the situation, Yongchun let them go and chased after the boy. Sun Young was worried that Taeju was in danger, so she chased after him. When she found him, he had collapsed in a pool of blood. Sun Young thought that she had harmed him, so she lived in torment. At that time, she saw the police car approaching, so she left the place. Now the reporter from back then, was about to become president. He was still worried about where that tape was, because 20 years ago, he had been to the scene of the boy's crime. At that time, he searched for a long time in the boy's bag but couldn't find the tape. He left in disappointment, and now, that tape became the only evidence that could overthrow him. That day, the congressman was giving an interview. Unexpectedly, this scene was seen by Sun Young. She begged Black to bring him to justice. This spirit saw the messenger of hell Black and ran away. Black hurriedly chased after him, because that spirit was Sudong, whom Black had been searching for so long. At this moment, Sudong was about to hide in the washing machine. Seeing that the messenger of hell had discovered him, he hurriedly ran away. Black used her teleportation ability to hide in the closet. At the same time, Sudong also wanted to use his teleportation ability. Sudong opened the warehouse door but was caught by Black and strangled. Suddenly, a car rushed over and hit Black and threw him to the ground. When Black woke up, he found herself in the hospital. At this time, Haram went to the hospital to visit Black. Unexpectedly, she saw black smoke appear in her stepfather. She muttered that if the shadow was behind his body, he would definitely die soon. Coincidentally, Black heard this sentence. He teleported to Haram's stepfather's office. When Haram's stepfather was off guard, Black strangled him. Black suspected that Sudong had entered Haram's stepfather. Black pointed a gun and threatened Sudong to appear quickly. When the soul left his body, Black breathed a sigh of relief. But that soul was not Sudong, but a woman. It turned out that this woman lived in the late Joseon dynasty. Unable to bear her husband's abuse, she killed him and left this world. Her soul has been hiding in a human body for hundreds of years without being discovered by the messenger of hell. Black intended to take her to hell to atone for her sins, but the old woman told Black that if he released her, she would tell him about Kim Jun's body swap that he was investigating. Black was extremely surprised when he heard it. Based on the address the old woman gave, Black teleported to Gunwoo's house. He found the laptop in the cabinet. According to what was inside the video, Black found an abandoned hospital. When he entered the hospital, he clearly felt Kim Jun's body lying on the operating table. At this moment, Black remembered that he was Kim Jun when he was alive, and his tears flowed uncontrollably. Then, he relied on his memories when he was alive to go to the beach and resolutely jumped into the water. He saw the car in the water, and there was a body inside the car. He picked up a rock and smashed it into the car window. Black couldn't believe that this was his own body. Looking at the body inside, he remembered everything. It turned out that 20 years ago, he had witnessed Yongchun killing Clara. Sun Young also saw that scene. Yongchun discovered Sun Yang and chased after him. Kim Jun wanted to save Sun Yang, so he used the tape to distract Yongchun. But when Kim Jun hid in the warehouse, he was still discovered by Yongchun. When Yongchun was about to kill Kim Jun, Haram's father stopped everything in time. Yongchun also ran away from the scene. Haram's father then asked Kim Jun what had just happened. Before he could finish speaking, Kim Jun was shot in the head. Haram's father chased after the person who shot Kim Jun. Kim Jun's younger brother, Mu Gang, collapsed and fell into a coma due to a heart attack. Luckily, a good person saved him. Although Kim Jun was injured, he still tried to go to the public phone and call his stepmother for help. Soon the stepmother drove to the scene and put Kim Jun in the car. On the way home, she received a call from her colleague at the hospital saying that her son had a heart blockage and needed a heart transplant immediately. Otherwise, her son Mu Gang would die. Soon, a daring idea came to her mind. She then went to the hospital and took out Kim Jun's heart. Then, together with her colleague, transplanted Kim Jun's heart into Mu Gang's body. Next, she created a fake car accident scene for Kim Jun and pushed both him and Kim Jun's car into the sea. Kim Jun remembered everything and wanted to escape from Mu Gang's body. He kept shooting himself in the head, but no matter what, his soul could not escape from his body because Mu Gang's heart was his. Then Black went to his stepmother and threw her a notice of dismissal. He asked her why she replaced Kim Jun's heart with her own son. She unexpectedly said that she really had no other choice at that time. If Mu Gang didn't get a heart transplant, he would die. Kim Jun vowed to send her to hell. He then went home and looked at the contents on his laptop. It turned out that Mu Gang had already investigated the truth that his mother had transplanted Kim Jun's heart into him. So even though Gunwoo was about to die, he just watched and did not save him because Mu Gang was afraid that if the matter was exposed, it would harm Mother. That's why he threw the evidence into the trash and left. At this time, Kim Jun still did not understand who shot him that day. He suspected that Young Sok was the one who shot him that day. At that moment, he saw on the news that Congressman Young Sok had been declared innocent due to lack of evidence. In order to find the tape recording Congressman Young Sok raping Sun Young, Kim Jun went to the warehouse where he was shot in the head to look for the tape. At this time, he saw a bullet mark on the wall, and this bullet mark was not from Young Sok's hunting gun. At this time, Haram had come here thanks to Kim Jun's phone location, but she didn't understand how he knew this place. Kim Jun was surprised and asked Haram how she knew this place. It turned out that 20 years ago, when Haram came home from school, she saw the shadow of the Grim Reaper behind find her father. At night, because she was afraid that her father was in danger, she followed him to the warehouse. When Haram entered, she saw a black smoke in front of her father. Just as she was about to go forward to find her father, her foot kicked the gun. It was her father's gun. Haram thought that as long as she made the black shadow disappear, her father wouldn't die. So she picked up the gun on the ground and shot at the black smoke. So it wasn't Young Sok who shot him, but Haram, who wanted to save her father, accidentally shot Kim Jun. Now Kim Jun knew everything. His head started to hurt, strangely, again. Not long after, he decided not to reveal the truth that Haram had shot him in the past. He also did not want the authorities to continue investigating Kim Jun's case that year. Actually, it was because he did not want Haram to be hurt. He scolded Haram and asked her if she knew how unlucky she was. Because he knew that the messenger of hell could not be with humans, he kicked her out of his house. Haram's mother then went to Kim Jun. She asked why he scolded her daughter as a monster. Kim Jun said that he had to do that in order to leave Haram smoothly. He would leave as she wished. At this time, Haram went home and thought about what Kim Jun had said to her. Unable to bear the shock, Haram took the chopsticks and tried to destroy her own eyes. At this time, Kim Jun ran to stop her. After returning home, he personally erased all evidence of his death. Grim asked why he destroyed it. Kim Jun said that he wanted to live under the name Mu Gang and live happy days with Haram. Grim heard that and didn't say anything more. The next day, Kim Jun took Haram to the hospital. The doctor told Haram that there was a bullet lodged in Kim Jun's brain nerve. Sometimes patients would become unusually aggressive, but in fact, it had nothing to do with the patient's will. At this point, Haram believed that what Kim Jun said last night was a lie. Kim Jun said that in a few days he would go to America to find a specialist and remove the bullet from his head. Then he went to Sun Young and asked when she would go to America. Sun Young said that Young Sok had been released, so she wouldn't go to America anymore. Tomorrow she would meet the media and give an interview to expose the bad things he had done, but doing so would ruin Sun Young's life. But she didn't care about her life. Kim Jun said that he did care. He had a way to bring Young Sok to justice. Then he asked Sun Young a favor. He asked her to take good care of his mother. If she have to go to America, take Kim Jun's mother with her. Seeing that his mother was being taken care of, Kim Jun felt relieved and left. Then he went to find Gun Woo. He knew that Gun Woo was dead and that Gun Woo was now just Sudong's spirit, because he had seen the symptoms after Gun Woo died on the computer before. Kim Jun was right, but Kim Jun would not send Sudong to hell to atone for his sins. Kim Jun wanted Sudong to live like a human and take care of Haram. Then he took a gun and intended to kill Young Sok to ensure Haram's safety. When Kim Jun entered the office, Kim Jun discovered that Young Sok had left this world by himself. Then Kim Jun returned to the car. Kim Jun knew for sure that Young Sok would not leave this world by himself. He must have been murdered by someone else. Because he wanted to find the culprit, Kim Jun went to Young Sok's house. At this time, he remembered the things he had done with Gunwoo when he was young. When he was young, Kim Jun accidentally saw Sun Young and the mayor engaging in prostitution at Gunwoo's house. In order to protect Sun Young, Kim Jun buried the tape in the secret base where he and Haram had agreed to meet. But when Kim Jun arrived, he found that someone had taken the tape. Kim Jun suddenly realized something. Haram's danger of death had not disappeared. It was because this tape was the real reason Haram was in danger. Sure enough, Haram had taken this tape the day before. When she returned home, she was shocked by the content of the tape. She then planned to bring the tape to the police station, but unexpectedly, the mysterious person stopped her right in front of the door. Not long after, Haram was tied up in the middle of the swimming pool, and the police were also arrested by them. After that, the police were brutally beaten because they knew some of the mayor's secrets. Then the mayor came here. It was all the mayor's doing. Just because this tape recorded him raping Sun Young, the mayor killed countless people. At this time, Haram swore that she would never hand over the tape. The mayor told his subordinates that no matter what, they had to get the tape, and then left. The mysterious man used the police as hostages and beat them violently to force Haram to hand over the tape. Haram couldn't take it anymore and decided to tell the truth. Unexpectedly, the police advised Haram that even if she died, she couldn't tell where the tape was hidden. The mysterious man ordered his subordinates to lead them away and then forced Haram to tell him where the tape was. Seeing that Haram still didn't react, the mysterious man ordered the water valve to be turned on. After a while, he picked up the electric wire again. By this time, the water had reached Haram's knees. The mysterious man asked again where the tape was. Seeing that she didn't react, he threw the electric wire into the water. Just as it was about to touch the water, someone turned off the power switch. At this time, the mysterious man realized something was wrong and went to check. While Haram was struggling, her head sank into the water. After a while, Kim Jun pulled Haram up and slowly put her on the ground. He stepped forward and started fighting and quickly took down the group of subordinates. Next was the mysterious man. Kim Jun grabbed the knife in the mysterious man's hand and stabbed him deep into the stomach. Then Kim Jun kicked him into the swimming pool pool and threw the electric wire into the water. Next was the mayor. He was seen leisurely drinking champagne. Unexpectedly, there was a gun pointed at his head. It turned out that Kim Jun had arrived. The next day when Haram was in the hospital, her mother gave her a letter. It turned out that the letter was sent by Kim Jun. The content inside was that Kim Jun will come America to remove the bullet from his head. He told Haram to rest assured and live a good life. As for Mugang's mother, because she killed Kim Jun, she blamed herself and drank poison to leave this world, leaving behind a suicide note. She said that Kim Jun's body was at the bottom of the sea, under the cliff, along with all her sins. Haram went to the police station and accidentally heard the criminal police talking about the content of Mogang's mother's suicide note. She also knew that when she was young, she did not shoot the black smoke but Kim Jun, so she ran to the police station and asked them to look up Mugang's exit records. Unexpectedly, they had already checked and did not find any exit records of Mugang. At this time, another criminal police officer held a video taken at the cliff that year and walked over. They saw Mugang jumping down from the cliff. Then Haram went to the cliff and was about to jump down after Mugang. Meanwhile, Kim Jun was being punished in heaven. He asked heaven to give him the heaviest punishment because the old lady had told him that the heaviest punishment in heaven was to return to nothingness, causing everyone who knew him to forget him. Then Kim Jun stepped in and received his punishment, and Haram also returned to being a normal person. She no longer saw the dark shadow. A few years later, Sudong promised Kim Jun that he would take care of Haram for the rest of his life. On her 100th birthday, he gave her a gift. When Haram opened the gift, she found a red string inside. She saw it and suddenly remembered everything. This red string was the one she had given to Kim Jun. Haram's tears kept flowing. The next day, Haram couldn't stand the cold weather and passed away. At that moment, Haram's soul also left her body, and Kim Jun was waiting next to her. Haram tied the red string to Kim Jun's hand, and the two held hands. Today's story ends here. Thank you for watching the whole movie. Goodbye, and see you again in the next videos.